Zain Ahmed, who is the co-founder and creative director of Rastah. He is going to give a keynote speech on scaling to global markets. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the co-founder and creative director of Rastah, which is a clothing brand that operates out of Lahore but sells in over 30 countries. And the brand can be sort of defined within the contemporary and the luxury market. Our average price point is somewhere around 150 to 180 US dollars, so it's a bit high up over there. Now, what I really want to talk about today with you guys is that we have a very negative connotation associated in this country with sending out product or catering to customers in overseas markets. And I think a lot of that has to do with global perceptions around Pakistan, which are quite negative. And when I started this brand, I was faced with immense challenges in terms of scaling to different markets. And right now, our two biggest markets are actually Pakistan and the United States. The biggest challenge that we sort of faced was that overseas customers are not aware of the fact that Pakistan has so much to offer in terms of quality products, especially in fashion. So I know there's quite a few of you sitting over here. I just want to ask, how many of you have an e-commerce brand or are looking to start an e-commerce brand? Can I see like a show of hands? How many of you want to sell, to a foreign country but are unable to? So quite a few of you. The way to do that, and I've given a few presentations on this, I've done a few consulting sessions on this as well, is to focus on adding brand value to your product, and by doing that, what you're doing is that you're protecting your gross margins. That's very, very important because of the fact that if you don't have branding and if you don't have identity, then that is going to be overshadowed with the fact that we're creating product in a third world country, which is, has very, like I said, negative connotations associated to this part of the world. So when it comes to scaling to global markets, for me, the biggest challenge was creating a brand identity and trying to justify such a high price point. When I started the project, everybody was like, "Ye banda pagal ho gaya hai, $90 की टी-शर्ट और $200 की हुडी जो है पाकिस्तान के अंदर और अमेरिका के अंदर बेचने जा रहे हैं, how is he going to do this?" And my goal was to create a brand value that connects the narrative of the brand with the consumers of the brand. That is very, very important. A lot of the times, we end up focusing too much on the product and the what and not the why. Focusing on the story of your brand and what you stand for and the vision behind it is so, so important. For example, I'll give you a very quick example. If we compare Apple with any other generic sort of company that may be selling cell phones, I can guarantee that all of us over here do not know what the tech specifications are for some generic brand that is selling a phone and an Apple iPhone. The generic phone might have a better processor, it might have better hardware, it might even be faster, stronger, leaner, whatever. But at the end of the day, customers associate a higher level of quality with Apple because they associate with the vision of the brand. And that's very, very important because you're dealing with a global audience that looks at Pakistan as a third world country, and quite frankly, we don't look at this part of the world in a very D2C sense. We're looking at Pakistan as manufacturers and suppliers and vendors, but there's so much more beyond that. Some of the best footballs of the world are made in Pakistan, but at the end of the day, the credit goes to Adidas or Nike. That's the sad reality, where we're creating product for other people to sell, and we're really down that line within that vertical chain. What I'm trying to say over here is that we can really create that stopgap a bit further if we're able to incorporate branding, marketing, and storytelling within our business's plan. And what that does is that it allows you to capture a larger segment of the audience. And the other thing that it does is that it's creating a ripple effect in Pakistan for other entrepreneurs to do what you did, but within their own sort of vertical chains. And I'll come to apparel as well. A lot of you might not know this, but some of the biggest luxury brands, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, even Hugo Boss, Tom Ford, a lot of their clothes are actually made in Pakistan, but then they're assembled in Italy and Italy ka tag lag jata hai. Who gets the credit? It's the brand, it's not the country. So what I'm trying to say over here is that if we really think outside of the box and if we give ourselves enough credit that we're able to do what we do with greater efficiency, with greater quality, and with a narrative behind it, we can capture a bigger segment of the audience with a larger share of that margin. Because what tends to happen in Pakistan is that there's really no brands that are focusing towards a foreign audience, and what that does is that it isn't adding value to your exports. You know, our textile industry, it's huge. It exports to a plethora of countries, but at the end of the day, to add value, there needs to be a tech aspect to it, or there needs to be an aspect where you're creating branded products so that you can add to those margins and bring back to the country. And sort of a question that I get is that, okay, we've made a product and we have a brand story. How do we go out and acquire customers? We had an amazing panel discussion before this on digital marketing and customer acquisition. There's so many tools out there for us to acquire customers while sitting in Pakistan in very different countries. That's how we did it, and that's how I think many of you guys can do it as well. Once you have that brand narrative, digital marketing is just the execution bit, and it's about teaming up with the right people to make sure that your vision is brought to life. Another big sort of hurdle that you guys might be thinking of is that, okay, fine, we've done everything you've said, Zain. What about the logistics and what about those sort of hurdles? Because shipping isn't easy, and we live in a world where customers are fickle, they want product fast, they want it cheap. There's a lot of third-party logistics companies that allow you to warehouse in different countries while still operating the business in Pakistan. And for a business like Rastah, we have high enough gross margins where we can offer customers services like DHL Express and still bear that cost, or at least some of that cost. So I think many of you who operate in a niche where your gross margins are healthy and you are struggling to tap into like a big segment of the audience in Pakistan, you can actually scale in foreign markets pretty easily. That logistics side is quite taken care of because of the fact that those gross margins can be used then to facilitate those very high shipping costs. Because keep in mind, at the end of the day, e-commerce is about customer acquisition, it's about customer retention, it's about data analytics. If you're able to acquire customers, and if those customer acquisitions are not profitable, that's not a lose situation for you. That's not like sort of a bad situation. As long as you're able to retain a very high number of those customers, in the long term you're going to win. And in Pakistan, unfortunately, sometimes we have a very short-term mentality in the sense that we want to acquire customers quick, fast, and cheaply. And I would really encourage a lot of you guys to look at the broader horizon of your business and focus on a long-term business plan that focuses on customer retention rather than just cheap acquisition. Thank you so much. I hope this helped a lot of you guys.
Thank you so much.